All good? Okay, thank you everyone. We are back in regular session. At this time we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Someone please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You ready? The budget presentation. Right. All right.
Okay, so this is our third budget presentation and final one for the year. I think it must not be able to get the, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, our goals for this year, for 2016-17, were to increase opportunities for all students to be successful through the implementation and expansion of new or updated academic and intervention programs, expand the use of technology in the classroom to have a positive impact on student achievement, create a strategic plan with community and stakeholder input. That was year 2 of a 2-year goal. And improve district communications through the identification of the most effective communication tools to reach the district stakeholders and expand the use of district resources. This is the shell of what we came up with from our strategic planning sessions. These are goals 2022. Came into 4 buckets. The first bucket was student learning and curriculum. And then we had 21st century leadership and ownership of learning, well-rounded students, and facilities, class size, and security. These are the things that came up from our 3 strategic planning sessions with the public. We had about 100 people were involved from the public, from all different areas, some township employees, parents, staff, board members, and then just regular community members that didn't fit into any of those groups. The four goals under student learning and curriculum, one was provide a rich learning environment based in the New Jersey standards that will challenge students at all levels with a standardized system to measure growth. 21st century leadership and ownership was develop a culture of learning that enables students to excel in the 21st century. Well-rounded students was create an environment that fosters self-aware, resilient, civically minded, and empathetic citizens. And then in facilities, class size, and security, create a safe and secure learning environment equipped to deliver 21st century educational expectations using efficient and sustainable facilities district-wide. So right now we're at the point where we have our goals approved by the board. So that's already done. Next step is the objectives will be approved by the board. And then the action plans will be shared with the board. The board will have the objectives for approval in May, and we will share with you at that same time the action plans that we've made. Right from there, we can go right into our goals for 2017-18, and if you don't need to do a goal setting this year because we have it, but you still might want to do the board self-eval with school boards. So obviously we spent a lot of time and energy on this, so I'm gonna come together with some goals from this plan, not something new. So here's our budget breakdown for 17-18, and I like to talk about some of the goals first because it lets us know, like, why are we here? What are we trying to do? The budget breakdown for 17-18, as you can see, about 80% of our budget goes towards salaries and benefits for employees. We have about 320 employees in the district, and that's basically what most of the money goes towards. Here's this slide is, I think, an important slide too. It shows our discretionary versus non-discretionary spending. 91.1% of our budget is basically non-discretionary, salaries, benefits. It also involves certain insurances like your liability insurance, things like that you can't eliminate. and about 8.9% is discretionary. That would be technology, that would be professional development, textbooks, it would be supplies, things like that. I like this slide because I think it's very important that we as a district and a community see that 90% of the funds that fund our district come directly from the local taxpayers, and only a small sliver of it comes from the state, federal, and other revenue. So the reason why I point this out, two reasons mainly. The first one is there are districts who are doing their presentation tonight, and their chart is the exact opposite of our chart, meaning 10% of their budget comes from the local population, and 90% comes from somewhere else. That's pretty important for us to realize that we're in the band of districts in the state, about 600 school districts. We're in the band that 90% comes from us and 10% comes from the state. And there are a lot that have the opposite. Now there are a lot that have like 50-50, but obviously we're in the band where most of our taxes come directly from the local taxpayers. Another thing I think is important to point out is that in the year 2008, the state passed an act called the School Reform Finance Act. In that act, they were supposed to fully fund the state share for all districts. The state share is the part that the state is supposed to give you for aid. In that time, the state has only funded the state share one time in 2009. So since 2010, the state has not funded the state share. This year alone, Denville is getting shorted, according to the School Funding Reform Act of 2008, Denville is getting shorted $500,000 in state aid. That money is made up by the local taxpayers. So since 2010, the state has shorted Denville over $3 million in state aid. One of the other things I like to point out is we're always so happy when they don't take aid away, right? But they actually did take aid away in 2010. We're not at the level that they gave us in 2010. So we shouldn't be super happy when they just give us what we had before, because it's still $500,000 less than it should be. These are our budget categories. Obviously, it's a lot of stuff, but this is all on our website. And if anybody wants to email me, I'll give them the link to it, and I'll give an explanation if they have other questions. There's a lot of different data on here, but it goes, it's instruction and program. You also have your special ed, basic skills, extracurricular, all the way down to debt service. Our debt service aid will mature in 2019, meaning that in 2019 we will no longer have debt service. That is paying off the referendum from 2001, I believe, for the Lakeview edition. Here's our budget this year for technology. So this budget that we're presenting tonight has funds in it for technology. We have network upgrades. We have new devices. It continues the one-to-one initiative in the middle school. It goes on to 7th grade now. We have our equipment replacement. These are things that we just need to budget for, because when we buy technology, it doesn't last forever. It needs to be replaced. It's important that you have a sustainability program built in, and that is why we're slowly going to one-to-one in the middle school. I know there was some push to try to get all in one shot, get the Chromebooks for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Problem is, when you do that, you have to be able to have $200,000 in 3 years to replace everything rather than $70,000. So we've done it slowly so that we can replace it slowly, so it's not a huge expense each year. We also have money in there to improve our wireless, and also we do keep money in there to replace projectors throughout the district. In our district, almost every classroom has a projector. They do not last forever. They need to be replaced, and that's why we have to replace them, and that's the money we use for it. We also have money in the budget for capital improvements. So this year already the board is approving tonight, or has approved, the Valley View roof replacement. And that's a $450,000 section of roofing in the middle school that needs to be replaced. Obviously leaked. It needs to be replaced. We do have approximately $1.5 million worth of roofing that is going to be needed to be done in the next few years. Other than that, all the rest of the roof we have in the district is under warranty for at least 20 years. So we're good after that 1.5 million in this. It may sound like a lot, but when Lakeview alone is $5 or $6 million worth of roof, Valley View is another 2 million, Riverview is about 1 million. So we've chipped away at it slowly, and we have some more that's still open. The Lakeview parking lot, this is the 3rd year of the phase-in to get this thing done. We did the site work, we did some of the other work to it the year before. Then we also have this money in the budget addressed towards substandard space. So this is kind of a spot that we don't really know what we're going to do with it yet, because we're working with our architect to decide what to do with our trailer situation. For those of you that don't know, we do have trailers at all 3 schools. At Valley View, the middle school, the trailers are not used for students. At Lakeview and Riverview, the trailers are used for students. Trailers are, by code, okay to use for up to 5 years. Our trailers are 12 years old, so we need to have some type of a solution for those trailers. So that's what we're earmarking money in our budget from surplus to go towards addressing this need. We don't know how we're going to address it yet, because we're waiting for our feasibility study from our architect and our demographer. But everybody's working on this, and those projects have been approved by the board already. We have some additional cameras, upgrades to our security system. Every couple years, you have to upgrade the network for security if you want to keep, adding cameras and making sure that our buildings are secure. We still have our lobby guard, and we also have money in there for some security personnel. We did pass, or it's on the agenda tonight, a job description for a hall monitor in Valley View. Basically, the other 2 schools are always locked after school. We have somebody who opens the door for enrichment, but in the middle school, because of the athletics and the play and all the other events that come in and out, the doors have not been locked after school. We consider our building secure from drop-off until 6 p.m. At Valley View, before the last maybe month or so, at 2:30 the doors were unlocked. So we want to keep our doors locked until 6 p.m. when our activities are over. At 6 p.m. the buildings are used by the public. At that point we don't monitor the use of who comes in and out. But from drop-off in the morning to 6 p.m. at night, we want to make sure we know who's in the building and why. So here's some accomplishments that we've made in facilities in 2014. I bring this up because we do have a great deal of monies dedicated towards working on our facilities, but I want to make sure that we also remember how far we've already come. Prior to my arrival here, that summer before I got here, the board approved the program to approve the project to replace the entire roof at Riverview. That roof is under warranty for 25 years. That happened a couple years ago, so we're good there. We also, this last year, we did sections at Lakeview and Valley View, and we have another section this year again at Valley View. We've done some big repairs to the bus garage. I showed you pictures over the time of how the bus garage was in disrepair. It didn't work. We've done security improvements, repaired our fencing, replaced fencing. We've added cameras. We've improved our locks, fortified entrances. And we've also sold 501 Opanaki. It was an old abandoned building on Opanaki Road that was not used for about 5 or 6 years. We sold that. We have a solution now for the central offices. Since 2010 approximately, the board has been renting space in various places throughout Denville. It's been over at the House for the Center for the Blind, which is now Celebrate the Children. We're somewhere else too, right? Wasn't there somewhere else?
It moved into Lakeview.
It moved into Lakeview, so that wasn't a cost. And then for the last few years, it's been out on 400 Morris Avenue, where I am right now, in a rented space that costs approximately $50,000 a year. We will, at the end of a small construction project to this building up on the 2nd floor, we are going to move our offices into Town Hall, and there will be no rent. And we're signing a 25-year lease, so we should have at least a setup for about 25 years. We've done site work improvements at all the schools. That's curbing, actually curbing, sidewalks, things like that. We've replaced bathrooms in all schools. We've done environmental remediation at Valley View and 501 Opanaki. We've worked on asbestos in all schools. The 501 Opanaki and Valley View, that was oil problems that happened over years. We were able to get the insurance company from the company who did spill the oil at Valley View to pay for the entire project, which is about $80,000. And we are finishing our ESIP project, which provided new controls, new HVAC, new lighting and insulation in all 3 schools. If you were around this last week, you may have seen some cranes because we had rooftop units installed at Riverview and Lakeview. That was all part of the ESIP program. That was a tax-neutral program to the public. It cost $1.8 million, but it did not make the budget go up due to the fact that it leverages the savings from your energy spend to do these improvements in the district. We are also taking care of the waterproofing at Lakeview and Valley View. I know that before I came here, there was a big problem at Lakeview. Every 2 years or so, the entire first floor would flood in the sea wing, and it needed to be worked out. And knock on wood, it's fixed. We've also done lead testing and remediation prior to when the state made us do it. So here's our challenges. That's all the good stuff. These are the things we're still left with. We did a lot. We have to remember that because it's important to say we did a lot of stuff, but we're not done. Facilities are probably something, facilities and technology will never be done. You're always going to be doing, because when you're done with whatever sections of roof you fixed, well, guess what? You got to start working on the ones you did before. So it's cyclical, but it's okay. It's part of the job. It's part of what we have to do here. But we do have to take care of our space. So one of our big challenge right now is that substandard instructional space. We do have trailers in use. We have dual-use space, meaning we have rooms that were intended for one purpose and are used for something else. For example, a closet, or having a library with 3/4 walls with classrooms in it. One of the problem with having libraries with 3/4 walls with classrooms in it is that you often have speech classes, and then you also hear the sound of the library classes out in the hall, causes problems for the students. And we also have 4 pre-K and kindergarten classrooms without bathrooms. And as per New Jersey code, all kindergarten and pre-K classrooms must have a bathroom. So we get a waiver from the state every year. It's not something you're supposed to do forever. You're supposed to have a plan to address your needs. I put a couple pictures in here just to show exactly what I'm talking about here. So here's a group of students from Lakeview going out to the trailers. Those trailers, again, are 12 years old. And it's a temporary solution that we need to come up with a permanent solution. This is what I was talking about with the shared space. On the left, you'll see our regular music teacher. That's the regular music class that you had when you were a kid. And then on the stage at the same time, there's another teacher up top trying to teach trumpet. So it's got to be kind of difficult to teach anything while somebody else is teaching trumpet in the same room. I never did it, but I bet you it's tough. On the right, you can see that's, if you see those walls up on the top here, let's see if I can get fancy here. Look at that, right up here. How come it doesn't work?
It won't show on the TV.
Oh, it won't show on the screen. Okay. But on the top right, if you look at the top right, you'll see that that's a 3/4 wall. You can see that there's no space on the right. So what that is in our Riverview Library, we have a special education classroom on the left, and on the right, we have a regular library class with 25, 30 kids in it at the same time. So we need to address those kinds of issues. And now, the important stuff, curriculum and other. These are the things that we do to get kids ready for everything. All kinds of different areas that go under Dr. Cullis' training. We have science and social studies textbook replacements. This is something that we've been working on for a while here to try to get all of our stuff up to date. I believe that they're replacing some from the 90s, something around there, Dr. Cullis, so we're trying to get a little bit more modern. We have science and lab equipment replacement. We have the lease of a bus. Obviously, we have 30 buses. You have to replace them sometimes. You want to be on a cyclical replacement. meaning you never want to buy like 10 buses in 1 year, and then you know that in 15 years you need to buy 10 buses. So we want to get back on a cycle of buying a bus or two each year rather than waiting to have to buy 10. Because somebody somewhere standing here with this mic is going to have to figure out a way to buy 10. So I don't know how you would do that. So we're trying to get back on a cycle. We also do take care of our economically disadvantaged students. This is something that came up last year. We realized that our PTAs were funding free lunch for some students who couldn't afford lunch. Because this district doesn't have a lunch program, because we don't have any kitchens, we don't offer a lunch program, we don't need to offer a lunch program, but the board has decided that we don't want to see kids not eat lunch, and we don't think the PTA should be responsible for $33,000. So we have used some of the money that we can get from the state and from the federal government, as well as some homeless funds to pay for our free lunch program that we have for students. There's about 80 kids that get free lunch from the district, and that's what represents the $33,000. Damaris and I spent some time working with our vendors to get the price as low as possible, and we're pretty happy with where it came out from there. And another thing we talked about was we wanted to improve our foreign language program in the middle school. We created 2 additional positions, but we also did eliminate 1 position to do that, so it's a net gain of 1 position, not 2. So we are going to, in the middle school, offer Spanish level 1 and 2, meaning all students, Spanish or French level 1 or 2, meaning all students will get a half year of Spanish in 6th grade and a half year of French. After that year, they will decide, they'll have to choose with their parents and their teachers as to if they want to take Spanish or French going forward. At that point, if they're an accelerated language student, they'll go into level 1 in 7th grade, level 2 in 8th, meaning they'll be in level 3 in 9th. If they're not accelerated, if you're just a regular student that's not in the fast track, they'll take level 1 French or Spanish over 2 years, meaning when they go to high school, they'll be in level 2. Currently, the majority of our students, around 80%, go into level 1 in 9th grade. The beauty of this plan is only approximately 5% of the students will take level 1, and those will be the kids that can't fit language into their schedule because they have a special need, not special ed, but they'll have some other special need that they won't be able to fit into their schedule. So going from about 80% of our students taking level 1 to about 5% of our students taking level 1, obviously it's going to take a couple of years for it to work itself out, but eventually we'll be at the point where approximately 20% of our students will go into level 3, and then about another 65% or 75% will go into level 2 in high school. Special education for the middle school, this is an important step here. What we have right now is some students that we brought back into district years ago, created programs for them in the elementary school, and now they're aging out of the elementary school going to the middle school. So we either put them out of district at $100,000 a year per kid, or create a program for them, which is the right thing to do on top of the fiscally sound thing to do. Anytime we can keep a kid in district, obviously there's 2 benefits. 1, we should do it because they belong here. And 2, we should do it because it's fiscally sound. So now what we'll have is 2 tracks, pre-K 8, 2 separate tracks that'll go all the way through from pre-K to 8th grade. 1, which is a multiply disabled class, something along those lines, and the other one, which would be an autistic ABA class. So we'll now have that, the continuum, pre-K through 8 next year. Starting next year for the first time, we won't have to look for out-of-district placement for those children. Here's our property tax comparison group. I want to explain this for a minute. I want to make sure everybody understands. These 15 towns were not towns I just made up. They're specific towns that fit specific categories, and they're every town that fits it. Meaning I didn't just pick the ones that made us look good or pick the ones that made us look bad. It's every town that fits these 4 characteristics. 1, they have to be K-8. 2, they have to be either central or northern New Jersey. I started in Somerset County, went to Bergen County. So If you're south of Somerset, you're not in there. If you're Somerset to Bergen, you're in there. They have to be between 1,000 and 3,000 students. The only one that's not is Florida Park, which has 998 students, but I kept them in the group. And the last thing is they had to be what's called DFGI, which according to the state in the year 2000, which they have not updated since then, created this group of schools, these categories from A to J. A being the least wealthy, J being the wealthiest. Your J's are your Milburns, Montgomerys, and Mountain Lakes, Ridgewood, Glen Rock, places like that. Tenafly is an I. And then you have your I districts, which is the list up there. And you also have districts, other districts that would be an I district, would be something like West Essex Regional in Essex County, West Morris Regional in Morris County. Those are some other I factor districts. Our sending district, the one that we send our children to, Morris Hills Regional, is actually GH, one rung less wealthy than Denville. Does that make sense to everybody? It's a complicated kind of thing. And the other thing that's negative about it is it hasn't been updated since 2000. I would, and this is just me knowing this kind of stuff, would assume, make sure you understand, assume, that I think that Franklin Lakes would go to Jet if they updated it right now, considering their average property value is like $1 million. So I think they would go to a Jet. But as you can see from this list, from the different categories I chose, there's a lot of different categories, but for this budget presentation, I wanted to pick total cost per student. So our total per pupil cost, we rank 12th out of 15 in this group, meaning we're the 12th from the top. We spend the 12th most out of this 15 at $18,000 per student. Our cost per maintenance per pupil is 14th out of 15. So again, we talked a lot about we have maintenance issues. Well, we can see that our cost per pupil in maintenance is lower than some of the other ones. And our average property tax, again, I understand that some of these districts are in, Bergen County and high affluent areas and their taxes are higher, but they all fit those categories on the left. And in property tax, we are 11th out of 15. So here's our budget breakdown. On the left, again, this is a lot to try to dissect and actually digest, this big chart. The most important thing, as you see, is last year, this is very important to understand, it's another kind of tricky thing, the school district K-8 budget. There's other things that go into your taxes. By the way, I'm a resident of Denville, and I pay taxes here. I'm 1 block away, so I know how my taxes are affected. If you look at just Denville K-8 school district's budget last year, 16-17, this current year, our taxes from that budget went down $47. That doesn't mean your taxes went down $47 because you have Morris Hills Regional, you have the township, you have the county, and you got hit with a reevaluation. But because of our budget, Denville K-8 school district, our budget last year, your tax bill from us went down $47 on the average house. Your tax bill from us this year is going to go up $127 on the average house. And the reason why I think it's important that I show you the things prior to this is you can see we are doing new things. It's hard to do new things without increasing the budget. You have to have some type of increase in your budget if you want to do new things and if you want to repair your facilities and keep up to date with technology. Some cost drivers. These are things that they're there and we have to deal with them. It's not going away. Special education costs increased additional out-of-district placements, and increased costs for therapies and staff. One of the things that happens is when we keep kids in district, it's not totally free. Because some of these kids need extra OT, they need extra PT, they need extra speech. Even though it may cost us $120,000 to send them out with transportation, keeping them in still costs about $60. So you're not saving the whole 120, but you're still saving 60. So I want to make sure you guys realize that we do come to you for additional aids, additional therapies, additional other things. If you do approve it, you understand why these things are going up. There's unfunded mandates. Our friend Mr. Cass, who just hit 10 years, loves unfunded mandates. We have all kinds of unfunded mandates, things that come down from the state and the federal government. You must do this, you must do that. It costs money. Our health benefit increases. This year alone, we had a 12 to 15% increase in health benefits. That's a pretty big chunk of change on health, just health benefits alone. And also, we're still trying to repair and maintain our aging infrastructure. It's always going to be costs there. Want to make sure everybody understands this is our district, Denville Schools, K-8. We had some banked cap. Banked cap is created by when the state lets you go to 2% increase of your budget without a vote. If you choose to go less than 2%, just take 1% for example. Suppose 2 years ago you decided to go to a 1% tax increase. You can bank the 1% increase for up to 3 years. This year we're using some banked cap and some waivers, but we are allowing $300,000 in banked cap and waivers to expire, meaning the board will never be able to use that money, will not be able to tax the public that $300,000. So we could have legally, if we wanted to, drove the budget up another $300,000 to address some of those other needs. But the board made the conscious decision to let that money expire. A couple other things, just like a recap. Did you know that we're currently working on a 5-year plan? And that the district is funding a $450,000 roofing project and a $250,000 parking lot project out of reserves. This district has a healthy reserves. When our auditor came in last November, right, Damaris? November, he said to you, this district is very healthy fiscally. So we have some of the funds to do some of these repairs. The district is working out all different types of possible solutions to eliminate the use of substandard space with our architect and demographer. And this budget also maintained the reduction that we put in place for the activity fee. A few years ago, the district put on a second question that all extra and not extracurricular activities and co-curricular activities would be funded by the parents' fee. And slowly over the last few years, we've chipped away at it to try to get some of that money back in the budget. We are going to keep it at this level right now, where if you're in Riverview or Lakeview, those club fees there's no fee for a club. If you're in Valley View, you have a fee of $50 to do as many clubs as you want. If you're in Valley View, you want to play a sport or do the play, it's $85. The most you can pay is $85, meaning if you do a club and a sport, it's $85, not $85 plus $50. So we did reduce that substantially over the last few years. The other thing, real quick, my contact information and our business administrator's contact information is on the bottom of the slide. It's all posted online already. It's been sent out in the Friday folder. It's been sent to local newspapers, local online newspapers. All different media outlets have gotten all the stuff that I just showed you. Some of them choose to print, some don't. It's all on our website. If anybody has questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them. But it's up to the board president on how we proceed with that.
Let's open it up for questions. Board members are held, if anyone has a question to speak right now on the budget, feel free to ask. Good. All right. Thank you, Steve. All right.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Ford, for your presentation.
Where's the remote that you got? Shut the TV off.
It's up by you in the front. No, on the, oh, on where you sit.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve.
And that was my comments too, Mr. Cole.
All right. Thank you. We'll move right along then. All right. Dr. Cullis, do you have anything to add or report? And no is perfectly acceptable. Thank you very much. Damaris, anything from the business administrators?
No report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, which is 8:09 PM, I'll open up for any public comments, anything at all germane to the district. If you'd like to approach and you can sign in, just announce your name and address and feel free.
I'm Colleen Perry, Dr. College. I just want to find out where I can find more information about the new approach to the two-tiered French and Spanish colleges. A little confused about it.
Sure. If upcoming,
Yes.
for the upcoming, for next year.
Yeah.
For the 6th grade, really what is going to be, the situation is going to be that all 6th graders will take half a year of French and half a year of Spanish. Then at the end of 6th grade, they will make a decision with their families, with their teachers, and select either French or Spanish. So then they'll go down the pathway of either taking French over 2 years, so that it would still be French 1, but it would be over 2 years. So they would take like French 1 Part A and French 1 Part B, and at the end they will have completed and be ready for French 2. The other offering, obviously the same as for Spanish. Some students would take French 1 as a 7th grader and French 2 as an 8th grader. What we'll have to decide is because we're following the high school placement, so then we would have to coordinate the placement test at the end of 7th grade, whether or not, or the end of 6th grade, whether or not they're going to do the 1 year or the 2 year program. Once they get to the high school, they can continue on that same language or they can start with a different language. Currently, we offer 1 and 2, but only online. So at this point, we have enough students generating interest in taking it that we can offer a full class with them.
So these teachers who take the French 2, let's say, in 8th grade, will end up in AP French in junior year?
They'll take French 3 in 9th grade.
4
Right.
and 5.
I think there's 4 though. Don't they have
Take
4?
them all to AP class.
They're all okay. So
Are
they'll,
we- Oh, yeah, you know, I do.
and then they can take a
check.
second language too.
Are we picking this up for the recording? Do you need
I
to
have it on
repeat
the,
her-
oh,
Do you need to repeat her question?
So
I'm not sure
your question was, what would they take in 10th grade? And the answer is either French or Spanish 4 or AP, depending on what the high school offers. I also want to point out something, because one of the things you have to realize, the reason why this hasn't been disseminated to parents yet is because the board's voting on the budget to fund it tonight. Once they vote to fund the final budget that we can actually do this, then we get the info out. But we only talk about it as it's a budget thing right now. But Dr. Coase will have all kinds of information sessions and things going
Right,
forward.
that's really what I wanted to find out.
sure. And because we're looking at expanding our offerings at the elementary as well, but it all really depends on the availability of our. Once we approve the budget to hire people, then we'll hire the teachers and then make the schedule and see how we can use those personnel at the elementary levels as well. So the plan will come out, but at this point, we're looking at.
Is it 5% of the students you thought in the class would be going to the accelerated level 2?
Can you get the mic? Just repeat your question to the mic, because we want to pick it up on the video.
Where do you want me to go?
He has a mic.
So did you say before that it's 5% of the students who you anticipate to go into, say, French 3 in freshman year? It was 5%?
About 5% won't be able to fit language in their schedule in the middle school, meaning they won't have language. They'll go into high school taking level 1. About 20% will go into the high school eventually, not yet, because if there's nobody in Spanish 1, it's hard to have Spanish 2, right? Eventually, we're looking at approximately 20 kids starting high school in level 3. And then approximately 75% of the kids starting level 2. And then again, that little small 5% will start level 1. in ninth grade.
Thank you, and I'll look for your information session. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else? If not, I'll close the first public discussion session at 8:14 PM. And we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Old business items. Mr. LaRue, care to list through these items?
Certainly. I would like to move that the board approve the following resolutions under old business.
Section A is the reports from March 2017 of the Treasurer of School Monies and of the Board Secretary. Excuse me. Section B would be the education reports, that would be the report of student enrollment and the report of the medical office from March 2017. And to, excuse me, also affirm the results of the following HIV cases, which would be HIV LD-05. And to finally approve the minutes from the March meetings, both the executive section and regular and work sessions.
I'll second. Thank you, Mr. Cass. Anyone have any comments or questions on these items? Okay. If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Lure?
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. If there are no objections, I would like to move items under personnel. Items as a block, items 1 through 12, with calling out the note of the addendum we received today, which is item 1. It says D on here, but I believe it should be M as in Mary. These are our usual extra pay, resignations, salary adjustments. We also have the job description for the security call monitor, the merit goal completions for business administrator, and the merit goals for Mr. Forte as well, and Dr. Cullis. Moving on to County College of Morris observation students, and transportation coordinator, our list of the certificated staff for the 2017-2018 school year, administrative leave, and another resignation. Thank you, Mr. Cass. I would just like to point out congratulations to all of you on the merit pay completions. Good work. Thank you very much. We, as always, appreciate your efforts, and all of these projects and accomplishments obviously help the district, so thank you. Anyone else? You need a minute, or?
I guess for the rest of the board on motion 3, which is the job description of the security hall monitor, I will just say that we did discuss this in committee, and Mr. Forte, overall, I'm happy that we're doing this, and I'm happy that we're doing a job description and having somebody there. I raised concerns in committee about the fact that the qualification says that we'll consider current high school students. For me, I felt like they were, I guess we can't be age discriminatory, not have enough life experience to handle what might be thrown at them there, but he made a case for why we should consider them, so I thank him for his time in putting this together.
And I think your point is a valid one, and it's really consideration. It would have to be probably a high school student that would be pretty head and shoulder above most other high school students.
Well, right in town, in Denville, Morris County School of Technology, there's a law and public safety cohort of students. And before I put together the final job description, I felt like it's somebody we may consider. And if we didn't put that in there, they wouldn't be considered. And I felt like if possible, if they have the right person, we should try to support it. It's people right in our town. And I'm not sure that'll even happen, but to me, it felt like it made sense.
Right. Which is what you pointed out in committee, and actually, both of my sons go to or went to the Morris County School of Technologies, and I always forget that they're there now, because that academy used to be housed in Butler. But it makes sense, that's, you know, what they're training for, and it is a very intense program they have there, so I reconsidered my objections to it.
And they're also great with us. And if you remember, at our first strategic planning session, two of the administrators from Morris County School of Technology were at our first strategic planning session. Not that we're trying to do a favor with them, it just shows that we're working with them and they're working with us. So again, maybe we consider one if it works. You know, maybe we don't. I also want to point out that nobody's beating down the door for that job. We have about 6 applicants. And I think people were confused as to what it was because some of them were teachers, current teachers in other places. So I don't know what we're going to get from this. We're working on it.
And I don't know, maybe this is the moment, when you were presenting the budget earlier with the presentation, there was a line item in there for security that was like $40,000. That's not really this, right?
It's about a third of this. About a third of it will go towards the monitor, and the other 2/3, if we decide to fill the position, would go towards a Class 3 officer, which is a new law that came out when our chief of police, Wagner, who pushed it as the president of our state Chiefs of Police Association, was able to get this legislation passed to allow school districts to hire recently retired uniformed policemen that carry weapons too in schools that work for the police department. So it would be like a 50-50 split here. We would pay the salary, they would pay all the rest. There are other fees like a vehicle, weapon, uniforms, training, all that stuff will be covered by the town. We'll pay the salary. But the beauty of it is rather than paying, you know, $150,000 for an officer with benefits, we're looking at paying about $25 an hour because that's about what the market is going to ask for. So we'll get a part-time officer. It's a good start. This is not, you know, the all and end all of security, but I think it's a good start to get a part-time officer, recently retired, to come in here and not just be a security guard, but to also handle anything security. Be in charge of anything security, investigations. We talked a little bit about what in private, that would probably be handled by this person, be the person for that. So I think it's a great thing if we can get this done. I have a meeting with the chief set up for the end of this week to try to work out the logistics. And we'll see where we go with this.
So I would just like to go on record, and we have spoken about this before, I'm glad that we have that in the budget. I just wanted for people who are here tonight or watching this later to understand that the $40,000 is not for somebody from 3 to 6 in the school. It's also for that position, which would be during the whole course of the day and things, and I'm very supportive of.
That's a good point. I neglected to bring that up. So you see a $40,000 price tag for an unarmed 3-hour security person. That's a lot.
Right.
The unarmed security person is looking at paying about $15 an hour to work about 3 hours a day.
Right.
This other person would work probably a 30-hour week.
Just for clarity.
That's good. Good point. Good catch.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? Good. All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain on 5.
Mrs. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Okay, moving right along. Instruction and programming. Mr. Lure, would you care to take us through these items?
I would be happy to. However, yes, there was some requests. My apologies. There is no apparently workshops or dispenses on this month's business. Is that correct?
Yes, and we purposely chose to leave it on there to show that it's toward the end of the year and we're slowing down a little bit with that, and also make sure that we remember to keep that as an item. But
Okay.
I think it's important to show that it's the first one that we don't have.
Okay, I want to make sure that everybody is aware that that is basically for voting purposes, it's a blank file. There was attached list of field trip requests, which I would like to move that we approve.
Second?
Mrs. Wagner? Any questions on the field trip requests? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Okay, moving on to policy. We have several for second reading. Mrs. DeLuna, care to move us through policy tonight?
Yes, if there's no objection, I'd like to move letter C, the policies listed on your agenda for either first or second reading and adoption. There's a list.
So the only policy for first reading at this point is our sustainability policy, correct? Yeah, I had a question about that, but I can't remember. It's the first reading. It's the first reading. I had a question about it.
Well, let's have a discussion.
I know, but I don't have my question.
Oh.
So if somebody's got something else they would like to talk about, I can vamp for a minute, but it's okay. I can always get an answer.
I don't think I have a hard copy.
I went a little bit, we went a little bit fast, but I don't have time to pull up the sustainability policy.
I was gonna say, if somebody pulls it up, I can read it and discuss it.
It's in the, it's on the website, just be on the website, under policies under review.
All right, I'll go there.
There it is.
You got it?
I got it. It's in the BOE packet 420.
It's 7461. I have it. I have it. That's it. Okay. So the policy, among other things, commits us to, whenever possible, hold paperless meetings, continue to reduce the use of paper, continuing our recycling efforts throughout all our buildings and facilities, using green products, cleaning and custodial products, again, whenever possible, promoting energy management, establishing a green team in each school, which at this point we actually have, right? We have green teams in each school that are operational.
Does it say possibly not?
It says establish a green team in each school.
Let's say before that.
To continue to promote energy management to reduce energy consumption and costs.
We do have a green team in each school.
What packet is it?
I just pulled it up on, yeah, right, and it's
410.
if you search for sustainable,
Ours says 24.
it's 7461.
I don't actually see it on the.
Yeah, you're right, it's not, it's not on the, it's not on.
I pulled it up in the pack, I pulled it up from the pack.
Right.
Packet.
424 back. And it's the fourth one on the list. The objections that, this makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because it feels like we are intentionally sort of hemming ourselves in for little to no gain. I mean, okay, paperless meetings would be a good thing, continue to reduce the use of paper when online options are available. I may be a little bit of a Luddite when it comes to this. If I can, I prefer to have paper. I feel more comfortable reviewing things. I feel like I am able to better and more accurately read stuff when I'm holding paper in my hand rather than doing it on a screen. Continuing recycling efforts through the buildings. We already have recycling bins in all the classrooms, don't we? We already recycle. Yes. That I don't see a need to make it a policy if we're already doing it.
This is a different kind of policy.
Okay.
this is a policy that comes from this committee, the Green Sustainable Committee, that's going to help us get the bronze certification. It's basically putting a lot of our procedures and things that we are doing for this into writing.
Yeah,
And the important thing too, and this goes to Dino's point, is it does say when possible and cost effective, meaning, and I think that's important, because to have a policy that says we're going to have a green team, which we currently pay people to do this, there may be a point where we need to cut that from the budget. So that's why we say when possible and cost effective. And also, another reason why I want to say what cost effective is because some green things just don't make sense fiscally. I used, for example, the biodiesel fuel for the buses, 5% biodiesel. To me, I think it's kind of cute. It's like you're just doing it to do it, to say you're doing it. You're really not gaining anything because the money you're going to spend repairing your buses and also putting your buses out of warranty is going to totally take away any of the benefit in the city environmentally. So that's why we wanted to put it this way. I think you're right. Normally, our policies are they're like kind of legal, right? This is more in the, let's put out a policy that puts our procedures in place and helps us get this green sustainable bronze sustainable jersey badge that we're trying to get.
And it's more of a philosophy thing. I mean, it's what the town does with the resolutions to the Green Committee. It's basically putting pen to paper a little bit to talk about the philosophy that we're going to try to pursue. And it does help us with sustainable Jersey in terms of potential grants down the road, curriculum opportunities. I mean, there are benefits that can accrue to us as a district.
So the point behind getting the bronze certification isn't just to have a pretty plaque on the wall. There's something that we actually get out of it long term.
Yes, that's the
We have the ability to apply for grants that we wouldn't otherwise. And I would agree completely with what Mr. Forte said about we're basically memorializing what our current philosophy is. We're not overreaching where we are at this moment in time. From the historical perspective, as a board member, the presentation that Mr. Forte started this meeting off with, and he spoke about district goals, it actually was the board's district goal, and I'm not exactly sure, I can't put a date to it, but 6 years ago, maybe 7, we made it a goal to try and reach for sustainability things, to have more energy awareness. It was when we started putting all the lights on motion sensors, so you couldn't possibly leave the lights on all night long, and things like that. So it's been a long time coming for the district. I mean, when I first started on the board 12, 13 years ago, everything that we wanted to talk to parents about went home in paper. We've been in the process of being a paperless district for a long time now, when we switched over to the Friday folders or the virtual folders instead of the actual folder that I used to pull out. I look forward to it on Fridays, and I'm with you. I like the paper in my hand. I found it very easy to flip through. Oh, I want to do this, and put it on the fridge. But we've been many years in the making, and I think the board meetings were the last thing to sort of lose their paper. We started with parents first and moved finally to the board. So for me, as I've spoken before, I'm very supportive of this, and I'm very supportive that it's a philosophy that slowly but surely the district's been embracing, and as Mr. Forte pointed out, finding a way to fund. When the town came to us, and that has to be at least 6 years ago, when they formed their Green Sustainability Committee, and said, we want you to join us in this, and we had a board member, which was myself, that was the liaison to there. I mean, back then it would have been great to have a Green Sustainability Committee, but the district couldn't figure out a way to fund it, to put it into the budget and do it. I'm happy that we're embracing it now, and that we have our staff members who are there in the buildings working to see the things that we can do that are achievable, teachable moments, money-saving moments, a philosophy of a way of, life for students to use the recycle bin. And so, I for one, yes, you're right. It's a kind of a strange document, but it's sort of just to memorialize it, which gives us the ability to go after funds we wouldn't be able to go after in other ways, to have a little bit bigger pie wedge from money from other sources.
And the other side of it too is that there's a lot of cross-pollination that happens with the district and the town in
terms of our efforts, the town's actually very close to getting silver certification this year. They had bronze 2 years ago. They have the points to do silver certification. Some of the activities we do as a district, including some of the ESIP programs, some of the anti-idling education stuff that we did at Riverview, all count for the town certification. So it helps the town as well. Anything else on this or any of the other policies?
One other thing I wanted to mention is that the vast majority of these policies that are coming up for second reading and adoption are very small changes. A lot of them are changing, I think it's people to student,
Yeah.
is that correct? In the entire document, and it has to be reapproved for all of them.
But it's kind of nice, it makes us actually get better acquainted with our policy.
Yes, yes.
Which we are a policy setting body and responsible for.
I'm not objecting to the changes, I just find it's humorous because they're changing.
I agree with you, it's changing one word,
Effectively synonymous.
but it helps remind me. I actually approved it the last time when we probably switched it in the opposite direction, because, but it reacquaints you.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's good? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes?
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes,
Mr. Moore?
Yes, abstain 4761, please.
You need 7461?
I'm sorry, yeah, 7461.
That's not for,
My apologies.
that's only for.
Mrs. Wagner?
Good to
yeah,
see you.
right, but he can.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to finance. Mrs. DeLuna, we'll call on you again, if you don't mind.
Sure. I think just because it's the budget hearing, I'd like to ask that we have a vote on item number 6, the formal budget hearing vote, separate from the rest of the agenda items. So, number 6 under finance, letter D, that we approve the following resolution regarding the 2017-18 school district budget.
I'll second.
Okay, so, discussion on number 6.
Just for the record, Damaris, what did the county object to on the initial submission?
There was no objection. The only change that they made was to add $100 to the maintenance reserve account to make it the same as the capital reserve.
Well, Damaris, on a $33 million budget, I have to call that a big one.
Absolutely.
So is this earmarking the amount and the overall didn't change?
No, they just wanted to, I put in $100 as interest income on the capital reserve, and they wanted to make it the same on the maintenance reserve.
Thank you.
So, and I know we always discuss this, but when we talk about the maximum annual expenditures for professional services, I mean, those numbers are obviously, especially the attorney fees. And, well, the architect fees, I guess, are always rolled into projects, right? So
Correct.
it's just figured differently.
Correct, this is just for miscellaneous architect fees, in case
Right.
we wish to be,
Okay, because when we approve a project, the architect fees are part of
yes,
the project.
included in the project.
There was a small, a case that came up where we used a small amount of money. We had a small repair at Bayview. There was a sagging slab. And rather than just fixing the slab, we wanted to find out if there was a structural problem with it. So we called it engineering. It was probably something like $500 or $600 to report. That's basically.
You know, before we take the vote, I just think it'd be nice for the record if there are, you know, if it's not a favorable, just to provide rationale for the record. I think it's always hard working on these. It's like trying to take a snapshot in time and try to anticipate like how many placements or how negotiations are gonna go and what we can establish in a 12-month time frame. And then you have, which always fascinates me, that the town budget process is 6 months out of sync with ours. So the ratables could change like it's not in sync with the school year. So there's always a lot of moving parts, so to speak. But I'm supportive, and I hope the rest of you feel the same.
Anyone like to make any comment?
Sure.
You're up.
I would like to thank our administrative team for all their hard work on the budget this year. For those of you that are faithful watchers, I did not start off very happy with the budget. It's what I consider a large increase. I was definitely a proponent of leaving some of the expired cap on the table. I do understand that we have a lot of ground to continue to work on our facilities, and that's why at the end of the day I was willing to use a lot of the bank cap to continue to do, projects that needed to be done in the district, and I'm happy to support this budget.
I have issues with doing big ticket, doing as many big ticket items as we have on the budget. I understand that the money is coming from various locations for at least 2 of the big ticket items, which limits the impact to the tax levy. But that money still had to come from the tax levy at one point or another. And I'm afraid I will not be able to support this budget in spite of all the hard work that the administrators put in. And I'd like to second Mary Ann's thanks for all the effort you did put in. I'm afraid I just can't support this.
Anything to add?
Yep.
Laura, anything?
Great job as usual. I think dealing with again, a little bit of amount of money coming to the stage, so I think it's a very good budget for getting on.
And I just wanted to say thank you to you, Matt, as well. Not only did you coordinate putting together this, but you sat with, I think, most of us separately and went through collectively hours of questions, so thank you.
So I feel very comfortable with this budget. It's been a process like they always are. I would hope that you would pass along the board's thanks to all the staff, all the way down to the teachers. I know this is a process that starts at that level, goes to the administrators, to you guys, and back and forth again and again. So thank you to everyone here. If you pass our thanks along to everyone in the district for what they're putting together at this point. I'm always amazed at how much work and moving parts have to come together for all of this to be in front of us tonight. So I thank you for that. Again, no budget's perfect, no school district is perfect. I think we're making a lot of progress. We continue to make progress, and I think this is another budget where we've made some difficult choices, but I think on balance we've come out strong. So, thank you. Nothing else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes?
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Lure?
No.
Mrs. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
I'd like to make just one more comment, which you called that one call so quick. When I watched, another thing from when I watched the presentation, for everybody to just think about the fact that we have very little funds that are what we call discretionary, that aren't tied to salaries, benefits, and the like. And when you hear that, one of the things that are considered discretionary are textbooks. And we're a school, so they're not really discretionary, but when you have very little money and sometimes when you have to squeeze the budget, that's where you have to look. We I'm even less discretionary than pie wage would imply, because to me, that's not discretionary. So thank you.
Excellent point.
Okay, back to letter D on the agenda. Under finance, we have 9 motions in total. I'd like to move items 1 through 6, numbers 8 and 9 as a block. That would include the checklists for the months.
Wait, Laura, you have 1 through 6. We just moved 6. We need
Oh,
1
I'm
through
sorry,
5.
1 through 5, 6 through 7.
7. Okay.
Skip 6. My bad. Okay. Yeah, when I got there, I figured
Okay,
out.
so just to be clear, items 1 through 5 and 7 through 9.
As a block. So we have checklists, services for network support and help desk support. We have the contract school messenger, the joint transportation agreement, speech services from 2 different companies, items number 7 and 8. And the number 9, to accept donations from the
Vulovic.
Thank you. The amount of $1,500 each for value and review.
A second?
The Vulovic family are doctors in town, and they've donated money to the schools over the last few years. I just wanted to make sure we highlighted the fact that they're donating $3,000 to our schools. The money for Valley View is earmarked towards STEM, and the Riverview money is earmarked towards any other things that they want to work on in the school.
That is tremendous. He's come out before, right?
He's
He's come to meetings, I think, too.
I think once or twice.
Yeah. I
They
think
have been
so.
doing this for years.
Yeah, okay, I know I've seen that.
I
That's,
was going to say, have they been in Valley View long?
Yeah, the oldest kid is my daughter's age, so she's a sophomore.
oh, okay. That is, that's always fantastic, and I'm sure they get the letter from us.
If they get a letter from the bar.
And I know Cindy had presented information about the new website at the technical meeting, but we're comfortable with a launch for 27, the new school. In other words, we're comfortable with the new website will be launched.
Well, we have, that's ours, we got.
Because it's an end of life, right?
It's an end of
Okay.
life.
Yes. Okay.
It has to be done.
Okay.
Are we basically migrating, or are we doing a revamp of well that's being?
In other words, like take the data, all the info, put it on the one. Most of it, but not the teacher thing. Teachers don't have to start knowing this from scratch. All the other information down there, obviously we try to eliminate some things that should not be first.
So we will do some tweaking, it won't just be a straight
Right,
migration.
exactly.
Okay, good.
Anything else? I don't want to rush anybody.
Sorry.
We're all good? Roll call, please, on these items.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Pass?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes, excuse me, it's up, I need to, motion 1, I need to abstain on check number 2627.
Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. All right, moving on to transportation, buildings and grounds. Mr. Cass, it looks like we have some PG items.
I have 5 items to move for buildings and grounds. Number 1 is to approve the Lamar Roofing Company, lowest bidder, to do the partial roof project at Valley View School, the amount of $339,000. Number 2 is to accept the donation from the Denville Green Sustainable Committee, the amount of $160 for the purchase of a tree for Riverview Elementary School for Arbor Day. Number 3, to approve the proposal from EI Associates for the Riverview Library and Technology Room at a cost of $6,500. Number 4, to approve the proposal from Creative Library Concepts for renovations to the Riverview Library and Technology classroom at a cost of $31,567.04. And number 5, that we approve Bob Squire painting contractors to paint the Riverview Library at a cost not to exceed $2,625.
Second.
I have a question about the library and technology room renovations.
Yes.
Is this something that that is possibly being addressed by the study that we approved? Was it? I think it was the second meeting in March to deal with the substandard space. If it turns out that they recommend doing an addition on Riverview, would that take care of this problem without having to spend this money on this?
No. Reason being, this was already in the plan prior to going for that. So one way or another, it needs to be done. So then it would, if we went for a bigger addition, it would have to be even bigger than we thought. Because these changes to those 2 rooms are going to accommodate some people and allow classrooms and personnel to move into these offices. Meaning, if we don't do this, then whatever addition we decide to do is going to be larger. So we're picking up an office for $16,000. If you're going to build an office from scratch, it's going to be plenty more than $16,000.
Where do you get $16,000 from?
If you look at the technology office where it says there's a renovation to technology, that's $4,000 for the plans for the library and $2,500 for the technology room. So when you add up all the things that are going to go into making the classroom in the technology room, it'll come out to about $16,000. So
That's under the.
none of those are approved yet because this is the plans for it. This is the plans from EI because they have to seal the plans. It's basically the same thing we did last year at Dolly. We just had a different architect. Does that make sense, Dave, or you're not sure?
Yeah, it makes sense. I just like, making libraries. If I'm not mistaken, the plan for this is going to make the library smaller, isn't it?
Not really smaller because it's already used. It's going to be just
Soundproof walls.
soundproof walls instead of big
Yeah,
walls.
I didn't understand I didn't adequately understand what the.
But to be honest with you, the side on the left, instead of having 1 classroom, we'll have 3 classrooms. What we're going to do to fix that, though, is we have some old technology in that section with some desktops. And we don't have enough desktops for all the kids that are in there. We have around 12. And normally there's 25 students in there. So rather than have the students go to the technology, we're going to have the technology go to the students by purchasing a Chromebook card, and they're going to use that for their technology rather than having, those 12 desktop computers that we have now.
So what's going to happen is basically we're going to be putting the technology, the computer special, as I think the kids call it, on a cart and have it go.
No.
This is library technology.
Just library.
The technology in the library, nothing to do with the technology class. The technology class next door is a double-sized class. We're gonna take some of that space and make it into a small group instruction room or an office for somebody, and we're gonna use that. And it won't have an impact. Right now, it's really just wasted space in that room. If you think about the room right next to the library. So now what will happen is remember, we have to find a place for special services as of August 1st. Because as of August 1st, or even September 1st, we're going to be out of where we are. We don't want to pay $4,000 a month rent So somewhere or another we have to go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of work on the Riverview trailers, not a lot. We're gonna pay them, we're gonna fix them up a little bit, make it a little more presentable. And then we're gonna use that space for the special services department until we figure out what we're going to do, which is probably, believe it or not, 2 years away. By the time, whatever we move into, it's probably 2 years away from right now. By the time everything's done, we can actually utilize the space. So in the interim, we can either decide to spend $50,000 a year on rent at our current location for 3 people, or move them in, or find another rental space, which costs money to move them, or move them into the trailer temporarily. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to recognize the Green Committee for, this is the second tree that's going to be planted in Riverview, right?
Second Riverview, and then we had one at Lakeview last year.
Last year, the kindergartens. And we have a date for this, I think.
It's Friday.
It's this 20, it's this.
28th.
28th. No, 28th.
It's Friday, April 28th at 2.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mrs. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Okay, on to go to the cause. We saw some committee reports getting posted, and the last day, too. Thank you very much. Anyone else have anything to report at this time?
I believe there's a Morris County School Board's meeting on the 26th, which is Wednesday.
Where I guess they will be honoring Don in his absence.
Yeah, there's an abstention. He's, Mr. Cass has been 10 years school board member, but he will be deep in negotiation session that night. So I did offer you the opportunity to go.
Too bad.
Well, congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations, Don.
Don, it's
Duty calls.
a big accomplishment, 10 years. It's,
We'll have to bring a special snack.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
So-
exactly.
Yes, I was also going to put in a plug for the Morris County School Board Association meeting that night, not realizing you have the board or whatever, 3 of you will be at negotiations. I also won't be able to attend because I'll be attending the CPAC meeting.
And other than the tree planting at Riverview on Friday, Valley View has its green fair on Saturday the 29th in the morning. I saw the road sign out on the street mentioning that. It looks like it'll be good. Encourage everyone to go if they can. Oh, and I'm going to make a plug for the Valley View Play, which is coming up May 18th, 19th, 20th. Wizard of Oz this year. You'll see posters around town this week, and it's going out in Friday folders, so it should be a good show. If anyone would like board tickets, let me know. We're always great about getting us seats. Discussion items, or what's all
I think we're substandard spaced talked out, but I think we should keep it on there until we figure out what to do with this. I think we spent a decent amount of time during my presentation with it, but I do think that just like what we did with our 501 open hockey, we kept it on there, keep it on there. Let's just make sure we keep it on there. We realize that we need to address this, but I think we talked about it for a while already. Unless somebody else is
Refresh my
thinking.
memory about when that report is due from the architects.
So the report was due to the architect in May, but we did tell him we wanted him to hold off until we heard from the demographer. So I would assume it would probably push it to June. So the demographer's not done. I had a meeting with him. Remember, I want everybody to understand this, and it's going to be in huge, bold letters on the report. But I want everybody to hear it from me first, that there are a lot of moving parts. Because if we're looking to figure out how many units may possibly be built in Denville over the next 10 years, the number is between 300 and 4,000. So we have to realize that that is a huge span. So we are going to do projections based on a span of 300 to 4,000 possible units. Okay? I just want everybody to realize that that is not going to be an exact science. It's kind of like the weather. But we'll do the best we can using the broad spectrum of possible housing developments that we're going to have. But I did talk to the demographer with the town manager, and he will take into account all the ones, we put them in 3 pools. I said probable, because nothing's definite. Even if there's plans drawn, it's not definite, because if the economy took another hit, sometimes people don't build. So we're going to say probable, then we're going to say another pool of most likely, and then the last one's going to be possibly. And the probable are pretty much going to happen. The next group, 50-50, and the last group, I don't know, 10 years from now, we're not sure. But just make sure everybody realizes that there's a lot of moving parts to a span of 300 to 4,000. Okay?
That's a span so wide, there's
Yeah.
almost no way to make it.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
Considering the current housing stock in Denville is 6,000 and change,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, 6,500 or something like that.
So almost going to double the town if that happens.
I was away for the township meeting. I think a couple of board members attended.
No, Mike was here.
Mike went.
Mike and
Don, were you, Don, did you make that town meeting? The one about from the town, about the housing?
Not my meeting.
No, not yours.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
Then we shared the video with all of you. Did you all get that email?
With yours.
The video that we took. We videoed that meeting at the town meeting.
So taking that, kicking it up a notch, could you get the town to, I mean, I know there's unrest over this topic, it's not going away. And there was maybe 20 people, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, most of the people that we are represented in various town committees and organizations, people in the planning board, school board. So,
I watched the video.
and the meeting, the meeting really wasn't a crystal ball where they could tell you what the future is. That's just unknown right now. But he did a very thorough job of going over the history of affordable housing, government's elimination of COLA, the impact of that, and where we are today. And if you look at it from, we're very concerned about Denville, but if you look at the macroeconomics on a statewide basis, it's a tremendous amount of housing, cluster housing being built throughout the state, and it's going to have a very negative impact. One thing you didn't cover, and I asked the question, was that the assessment of the impact in infrastructure like sewers, wells, water, reservoirs, the schools, the sewers, etc. And this is just to tell you how bad off the state is, okay? That's not considered when they make the decisions based on the formulas. But you can, after you get your allocation, if it's a negative impact to your infrastructure, you can sue it. And you may win, you may lose, but it's just going to cost you. Instead of doing that stuff, doing that up front and making a rational decision, that's not the way it works. So this is a real political football with a lot of special interests just getting your way with the politicians down the track. It's a real shame, and I don't know if it'll change with the next election, whoever the governor is, but it's a disgrace. What the legislature has done now. They've done nothing. They've done nothing on this. Right now you have a developer solution, which is 20% affordable housing, whatever they build. So.
just to add some numbers to what Don was saying, Barbara and I and Mike also attended, and the numbers from the town and from the attorney's presentation is from 0 to 1,313. So there's a huge.
That's the HUD.
That's the, thank you for,
So
yes,
that's my numbers
so
came from, these are
that's
numbers,
20%.
right, and it's,
Of what your numbers.
it was also taken into account that some things are counted double. That's where we got the number 300 to 4,000. It really, if you listen to them, it's really 4,000 to 5,000, 400 to 5,000. But we tried to use a little bit of, there's some things you're gonna get double credit for with the rentals, you get double credit. So he's saying a conservative estimate is 300 to 4,000, somewhere in between there.
You're saying total,
Total,
yes,
total homes.
yes,
But
which
you
is
know, that
essentially like
this
you
is
said.
based on something that is like sunsetted, sort of, so the courts are deciding.
Right.
Because there's no legislation.
Right.
So, like, all this crisis talk, it's like, well, it's been in crisis for how long? Like, when did it, like, it's years and years.
It has.
Like, there's, I guess we're smart to do the analysis, but I don't know if it's a crisis unless someone's willing to sue you, the town, over building and stuff.
I think my take on it right now is, let's account for those 300 units that are gonna happen. Like those, unless the economy crashes and the builders decide not to do it, they're gonna build 300 homes approximately, between townhomes and these other things around the town. So, that to me, that makes sense.
300 in total, or?
Just talking about that one development.
I'm talking about 300 total. There's a development up
The
in,
plan that they.
right, yep.
Proposed.
So approximately 300 homes, we should account for that.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And I shared with you my notes from that meeting, right, in my packet this week. And it showed you the breakdown, what they would give us, how many bedrooms and things like that, whatever they knew, I provided to them. So at the very least, we should account for that in the demographic study and in the feasibility study. And then just realize that the other thing is really unaccountable. It's unaccountable, I think. I don't think there's a way to account for that kind of broad range.
Well, besides the fact is realistically, without those houses and without those actually being built, what would we do anyway? Right? Realistically, we're not gonna build a school and mothball it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and we have current needs that aren't going away. So if we get too caught up in the what ifs, what happens 10 years from now, we do nothing. We still have these needs that aren't going away right now.
all right. I guess we'll end on that note. If there's nothing else, any other discussion items? We'll open up for public comment again at 9:07 p.m. Anything germane to the district, please just approach the table and sign in. Would only be you.
I'm from Morris Township,
Oh, please.
and I love coming to Denville. And I just thought I'd stop by because I work for the Department of Public Works.
Would you just state your name and address first before you?
I am Henry Broxman. I worked for the Department of Public Works for over 30 years. I've been retired, and I love coming to Denville. And I just said, through the area, I heard you was having a meeting tonight. I just thought I'd stop in and sit down and just listen because we all do have crazy things that we're trying to put together for our municipalities and for the people. And it's hard to, I'm really disappointed because, I have all these people here that are trying their hardest to put things together for this town, the township, and I don't see anybody here to show thank you and appreciate for what you're doing. It's simple, but that's it. I just happen to be through the area, and I love coming to Denville. I love going to the town of Denville. I've got 5 grandchildren. I had 1 son and 3 girls that we raised, and I lost my wife 3 years ago, and it's been kind of a little difficult, but now I have nothing but time, and I walk around and I visit a lot of the municipalities and stuff, and I just like to listen to see what's going on and experience the problems that you people come up with, and how you're, put all your ducks in a row and see what you can do. And I think you're doing a fabulous job. Really do. And I do love coming to Denville because every little town townships, stuff like that, they try to put their little towns together and do everything for the people.
It's the ice cream, right? We know, it's the ice cream.
I just feel sorry that there should be other people here, doing the same thing. Thanking you people for putting the time in and doing the things you are doing for the municipality and the town. So anyway, as a neighbor, I'm saying thanks.
Henry, thank you very much. You're welcome anytime. Please come back.
Very good.
Please come
Thank you
back.
very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, with nothing else, we'll close the public comment at 9:09 p.m. and I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Mr. Lewis got you, Mr. Cass. Care to second that? A second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions? Okay, we are adjourned at 9:10 p.m. Thank you, everybody.